Bonjour, I'm Wab Canoe. I'm Anishinaabe from the Ojibways of Enigaming First Nation in Ontario. My first language is Ojibwe. Now I live in Winnipeg. I'm a TV journalist and I make hip-hop music. I know what some people might be thinking, where's his rezzed out accent? And Native people make hip-hop music? Look, we all have stereotypes in our head, but don't you think it's time to move past them? As one First Nations prophecy says, it's time for the eighth fire, time to build a new relationship. In this, the last episode of our series, we're going to look at some people who are doing just that. Believe it or not, some of them are even having fun trying. Don't worry, this show won't be violent. What you just saw was art, a performance. The artist is Deariule Michel Savard. He's a Wendat Huron from Wendake, and his target is this. It's a 64-page document. It's the Indian Act. It was passed in 1876. Its avowed goal was to assimilate us, to turn us into white people. It regulates every aspect of our lives. It treats us like minors. It treats us like children. It's a stifling law, it's a paternalistic law, and it's a major roadblock on the path to the future. Michel Savard got more and more angry, and then he pulled out his gun.
By taking a shot at the act, the idea was to create something there to expose the wound that we suffered. All of us, the native peoples. In fact, across the world, every indigenous nation has suffered some prejudice and been traumatized. It's not the wound left by the law that's important. It's the shells and wampum beads that emerge from the wound. Our traditions, our voice, our way of doing things flow directly from the limitations imposed by the Indian Act.
Michel Savard's shot echoed loudly. It led to a traveling exhibition called the Indian Act Revisited. 8 Aboriginal artists created works inspired by different aspects of the law. Some irritating, some repressive, and some, well, just absurd. In one of the works, you watch Wendake artist France Gros-Louis Morin filling bags with soil and then hauling them off the reserve. This is illegal under the Indian Act. At the same time, she displays photos of quarries where outsiders pillage the resources on the traditional lands of the Indians. This, though, is perfectly legal. Another work echoes a more dramatic consequence of the Indian Act. From the 1960s to the 80s, thousands of Native children were torn from their families and placed in foster homes or given up for adoption to white families. It was a shameful chapter of our history, and it inspired a work by Angela Sterritt, a Gitxsan from British Columbia.
It's called Wards of the Crown, and it's about a woman having the ability to keep her child, because in Canada, if you're an Aboriginal woman and you have a child and you make one little mistake, I mean, it could be you could just be living in a level of poverty, and you'll be looked at with a lot more scrutiny than any other race.
Et où la tortue? Moi, je vois pas de tortue. Où quoi c'est? Ouais, c'est une Ojibwe qui est écrit là. When a woman married a non-native person, or an Indian without status, or a Canadian, she was losing her status and was automatically expelled, kicked out from her community.
That article of the Indian Act was amended in 1985. A Native woman who marries a white man no longer loses her Indian status. But the law still discriminates by putting up other obstacles which make it difficult for a First Nations woman to hand on her Indian status to her children.
For example, I were to have a child with a white man, and my son had a baby with a white woman, that would mean he would lose his status. So we see residual sex discrimination in the Indian Act.
Okay, see you. Bye, Nami.
The Indian Act regulates a multitude of activities. Article 30 prevents anyone from entering the reserve without permission of the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs. Michelle Savard can't help wondering if that has something to do with the cycle of poverty and dependence the reserves have helped create.
In the work I did, I asked, why can't you enter an Indian reserve anytime you wish? Maybe at some point there was something to hide, the poverty of the people living there, or the social problems. You can see, it doesn't make any sense.
The Indian Act created reserves, and the reserve system created problems. Lots of them. Take Blackstone, for example. You won't find Blackstone on any map. It's the name of a series produced by an Aboriginal team airing on the Aboriginal People's Television Network. Though it's the name of an imaginary reserve, the problems are real. Corruption, violence, drug addiction. The series is controversial. It paints a tough picture. It doesn't pull any punches. And it's been renewed for a second season.
Previously on Blackstone.
Holy shit.
I don't want you hanging around with that girl. As a matter of fact, I want you to stay away from that whole fucking family. You hear me?
This ain't a family business. I built this club on my own, and I didn't need to suck on the tit of Blackstone to get it.
You know, maybe I just don't want to do drugs every minute of every day. Have you ever thought of that?
What we wanted to do is just show a new generation kind of questioning and coming up and presenting challenges to the old guard, if you will, and just looking for new ways to promote accountability and transparency within the communities. That's your cue to come in.
So I don't say come here?
No, let's lose those last two lines.
The things that have happened in the show have happened to real people like myself. I've lived through those struggles, and I think that's important for people to know that these things are going on, and we're having a voice through the show speaking about these issues.
I'm frustrated too. My ex-wife is living in the city with some guys looking after my daughter. Maybe this was a lost cause.
One of the things that non-Native people see in Blackstone is that there's universal themes in the show. You know, corruption, addiction, sexual assaults. Any of those challenges exist in the non-Native communities. It's everywhere.
I think, too, we need a beat when you realize that Andy has a piece of Brebner. I think that's a big point.
I think that kind of interest in the show creates a dialogue within the community, and it becomes a discussion piece. And I do think that that awareness that, you know, these kind of challenges exist in the communities is a healthy thing for the communities because it does promote dialogue.
Action.
Blackstone sets off storms of discussion, according to Ron Scott. For a long time, one of the hottest topics for First Nations has been the Indian Act. And more to the point, what do you do with the Indian Act?
If I had a magic stick with two powerful power attached to my magic stick, I would say yes, no more Indian Act, because for me it's that legislation doesn't recognize me as a human being. I'm just a member. I'm not even an adult under the Indian Act. It doesn't recognize my culture, my territory, my history, my language, my values, etc., etc. It's just telling me what to do and how I should be. We have to abolish this Indian Act.
The word is out. The Indian Act has to be scrapped, otherwise reconciliation is a dead letter. The future is bleak. I know it's easier said than done. My status card, for example. Will I still have one of these? Reserves, band councils, what happens to all of that? And perhaps, most importantly, what happens to the $5 a year I'm promised under Treaty Number 3? I know, it won't be easy.
So my other power that I have in my magic stick would be I'm entitled to decide for my present and my future, and also I have a land where I can be feed with it, or, you know, self-government. I have something in place, a charter, a constitution where my rights are protected.
Give us what we're owed, and we'll get on with it. I think we're capable of running our affairs, no problem. We did it for thousands of years, and we can do it today.